Hello, all of you risk takers and truth seekers to Podcast Life, the battlefield. Today, I have a truly amazing guest. But before I say who my guest is, I know that we in life have a tendency of giving up on those things we love, on people we cherish. And we give up on the things we used to be once upon a time looking so desperately. You know, that first feeling, when you fall in love, you're rushing home and, you can't wait to kiss that person. You can't wait maybe to live against the wall. But I know life is all about attraction, seduction, and destruction. As older we are become, more we understand the love. However, there's the other way, to save and enjoy your life. Our guest today, she saved hundreds, if not thousands, of marriages from divorces. As well, she's responsible that all your sex life is the way you want. Today, you will learn how to save your marriage, enjoy intimacy, and be the beast in the bed. My guest in studio, Sasha Fedorovsky. Sasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
What do you think about intro?
I was just going to say I love the introduction. It's amazing. And I love the scene that you set for people about, how you first meet someone, you have all those chemicals, you have that honeymoon phase, and then often things take a turn. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Why is this happening to us? Before we start talking, who is Sasha Fedorovsky?
Yeah.
Sasha, I remember as a kid, and I was in love so many times. I think many people, they did. But what's happened to the humans? Why we are becoming what we're becoming? falling marriages, falling relationships, intimacies to the drain and to the window. What's happened to us?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And a lot of people think things are getting worse, right? Because there's so many divorces, people are suffering so much with heartbreak. But what we need to understand is that marriage started off as a business relationship, right? It was
interesting. Okay,
it was always a business relationship, and it was to secure land. It was to protect women because it's only in recent times that women can work and be financially independent. And really, love was reserved for affairs. Okay, so. And, and a lot of relationships have been transactional. That's why I call them business relationships, right? For the man, he gets provided with intimacy or sex, and the woman gets security. And that's always been the arrangement. And maybe if you've come from wealth, it's to secure land, to secure wealth and things like that. And with recent times where, it's only in the 70s where a woman could have her own name on a credit card.
Yes.
So, for a lot of people, especially in their 20s or 30s, they think, why are things this way? But it's only recently that women have now been able to step into a man's world, right? And this is where we're facing a lot of disruption. Okay, so it's like with technology, with, with television, with Netflix, with podcasts, that's a disruption phase for television companies. This is the same with marriage and relationships, with women entering the workforce. Now they want more than security. They want emotional connection. And this is something that men have never been conditioned to understand. They've never needed to understand it. All they've needed to do is provide and protect. So now it's like men have to, they have this whole new world that if they're interested or willing or even get to that point where they realize what it is that a woman wants and needs for long-term connection, then the journey begins.
Look, I have tendency to not to disagree with you, not even to agree with you, because I don't want to hold nobody's side, but I remember my father, right? I just say from my personal experience, when I was a kid, my father will tell me, your wife, she needs to listen to you, she needs to bend over when you tell her and everything else. But then in reality, my mom, she was bashing my father. She will lift the eyebrows and he was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Dude, you just told me you need to be the alpha male, the killer, the breadwinner, everything else. But that's a misconception. We all being educated differently. Every man is differently. And I'll grow up in society where the woman is being considered just as the womb for the baby and, just the being made of the family. But that's not the reality. But before we dig deep into this, who is Sasha Fedorovsky and why Sasha doing this?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes.
So my background is actually in business. It's in television. I've always worked with men in my corporate career, and I've done my own personal development journey, and I've been through my own heartbreaks. But what I found throughout my business and my corporate career is that a lot of my clients, my colleagues, my bosses, they would confide in me about their stress, about their relationships. And initially this was a stress management training, and I mostly work with men because that was just the clients I dealt with. What I realized after a while, after really talking to these men intimately, the stress is never really to do with work, right? Because work is really a man's world. It was created by men for men. So the stress is never for work, and it's usually a stress to some degree that men enjoy. The real stress or the real pain or the real place they feel they can't solve problems is within their intimate relationships. Further to that, I deepened my understanding working with a men's health medical company. So my program, the Mind Heart Method, is based on psychology, it's based on the nervous system, it's based on ancient wisdom, but it's backed up by doctors, by psychologists.
So it's interesting. I was looking at some statistics, and I tried to understand something for somebody who was married as myself. I know that there's attraction, seduction, destruction, but something is happened in a marriage. The people become disconnected. Two parties, as you say at the beginning. I love how you said, I have a land, she wants to be married with somebody who's going to protect her, and then she just needs to do whatever she needs to do. Give up her freedoms or bodies, whatever it is, to get that security. But, we live in modern times. It is business transaction. But Sasha, I make it list why the sex in marriage by men only, right? It's failing. And they say it's a stress, depression, low self-esteem, some type of trauma, or some hormonal displacement, right? Do you mind to say, with our audience, share your professional experience, opinion, why the men stress and why they bring this in a bed and why this influencing sex in a marriage from men perspective?
Yeah.
Talk about men.
Yeah, so it's really common, particularly in Australia, erectile dysfunction, P, and it can be some of the leading causes of heart disease and even suicide for men, right? So it's a really sort of vulnerable area for men, and it's really the place where men can feel love and their emotions. So as a woman, I've questioned this for a long time, working with men in this department. Why, if a man has really serious issues, the one he's going to address is the issue in the bedroom, right? Why? Because that is the way that a man feels. That's the key to his heart. And this is why erectile dysfunction actually has really strong links to heart disease and heart attack. So it's a really, important issue to tackle. Okay, there are a few reasons. So there's the physical side of things, what's going on physically. In our food, in our water, there's a lot of hormones that are dropping testosterone levels, right? So we have a lot of estrogen in the water. It's because of the pill. Women have been taking the pill for years. It's in our food. It's in our water. There's a lot of hormones in chicken, in meat, in soy. So it's almost the environment is dropping men's testosterone levels, and they've been dropping steadily over decades, right? If we look at them from, your grandfather's time to your son's time, it's going to be very different. That's one thing. The next thing is stress. So the way that men biologically respond to stress and women is the way that our hunter-gatherers did, right? Our nervous system is thousands of years old.
Yes.
Right? It hasn't adapted. It's like a legacy system. Okay, we're still in analog in terms of our nervous system. But before a man felt this stress, this fear, when he went to hunt, when he went into battle, right? That was a time for fear. So the way that he still went into that battlefield, he went to hunt, was he switched off from fear. Okay?
Okay, right? That makes sense. Men doesn't love to talk about these things. And, I said to myself, I gave myself pride. When I come in Australia, I try to understand why the men in Australia acting the way they're acting.
Yeah.
Because,
I come from... what way is that? So just it will be quite interesting for you to share. How is that different to in Europe?
They want to be the man.
Yeah.
They want to be alpha male. But they are not, right? Well, where I coming from, let's just say Croatia, we respect the women, but we are wild beasts, like for us was, like there's all these seduction games, like, but I know in my eyes, when I see something, I mean, I'm going to tear you apart, you're going to be my woman, you're going to be my wife. I don't care what you're saying. Another thing let's just say, when I started dating in Australia with my very, very poor English, because I come to Australia, I only knew the German and Russian and Croatian, right? I didn't know English. But when I ask for the number, the women will tell me, you're never going to call me. It's like, what do you mean I'm never going to call you? Just, I'll take you my home right now. And then I realized the men here just talk. They're pretending. While the guys from over there where I come from, we talk less but act more. I don't know, maybe something in the water, maybe in the food.
It's fear, right? So it's
fear, okay, interesting.
So and that's the same thing with the bedroom. So that it's all from stress and repressed emotions. So in Australia, the UK, it's in the culture, could be religion or the environment, but it is repressed emotions. So if we repress our negative emotions, if we push them down, right, which is quite common, I would say, in Australian culture. You might drink it down, you might work it down, but it's being pushed down. So all the energy is being pushed down, right? So you're making yourself numb. So when it comes to feeling the positive emotions, you can only feel as it's like you've been in the freezer. So you can only feel as high as you can go low. Right? With Eastern European cultures, I know with the Balkan cultures, our cultures, it's a lot more of this hot energy. There's also a lot more aggression, right?
It is, yes.
And that's it's a more energy in motion. So there's more of that energy that needs to go outwards and upwards, right? So emotions for a long time, especially, the men that might be watching might think, what the fuck are emotions really? But emotions aren't invisible, right? The science is proving, we've got technology to prove this, they regulate our nervous system. Okay, so when you're feeling fear, anger, stress, you're likely to get hypertension, high blood pressure.
Yes.
If you have repressed anger, which is depression, for a long time, it's going to take you to a place of apathy, right? Closer to death. Okay, when you're close to death, it's not a time to go to the bedroom.
See, we made an entire science over this, right? Which I still don't understand. And I'm very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go on our website, mindheartmethod.com. It's in background. I'm going to put in comment section below. I'd like to say Sasha Fedorovsky for being today with us, because you're going to learn, as I said at the beginning, you're going to learn. So I want you to take notes. Take the pen and paper and say, Sasha said this, check again, go back, and you're going to learn these things. Look, I have a son who's 21 years old, right? And seeing his generation, I'll say something. I was going from analog to digital, right, as well. But I want to ask a question around the porn, right? Because I want to see how much porn has reality in our lives.
Yeah.
And again, as a kid, it's not something I'm proud to say, but, as a kids, back in my home, we have the one magazine we share amongst the 20 boys. But that was not enough, because we will see our teacher, and she become the focus of our desire, object of our lust, right? And everybody will fantasize. Today we have a porn accessible. It's here on a fingerprint, everywhere. I want to ask you a question. You tell us, as an expert, how much porn influencing sex, relationship, marriage on a man's behalf? Is it good, bad, or should we avoid?
Yeah, so porn is a huge issue now. As you said, back then you had a magazine. The rest was to your imagination.
Yes.
Right? So this part of your brain was activated. It was working. With pornography, it's basically like McDonald's for the brain or cocaine for the brain.
Okay.
It's a really quick rush, okay?
Yeah.
And it's like if you eat junk food every day, if you're eating that sweets, that sugar, when you eat a salad, it no longer tastes good. Okay, and this is the same with pornography. So if you're having this quick fire wire in the brain with pornography, when you go to your wife that she's been by your side by the last 10, 20 years, it's so normal, it's so common. Your brain needs more to get that rush. It's like if you're a cocaine user, you just tried it, it's a big experience. But after a while, like with drugs, you need more and more. This is the same with pornography. So it makes what's natural and what you're used to feel like nothing. Okay, so also the other thing with porn, we need to question anything that's free, what it's taking from us. Nothing is free. Okay, and it's with pornography, it's taking a man's energy. It's manipulating a man, and it's taking his energy and his power. Because after that porn, after you've given your energy to porn, you no longer have that. You don't have it for creative efforts. You don't have it for business efforts. You don't have it to give love or connection to your wife. You don't even have it for interest to your wife. So what kind of a society is that creating? It's creating a very docile society, right? Very docile.
That's interesting. I tell you why. Because I was recently on a Manly beach, and I saw all these young women there, like a sardines, literally, like a 20 of them together. And I was comparing when I was a teenager, all the girls had these bathing suits covering everything, right? Like if you saw something like, oh my God, like look at
they
the
had
skin.
to, from what you're saying.
Yeah, now the body covers the bathing suit. Right? And there's a group of men passing by, totally disengaged.
Yeah.
Not interested. And I think myself, again, I said to that's my son generation. I think myself, dude, what are you waiting for? This girl just wanted somebody to approach them from these guys. And the men are disengaged. Maybe that's a porn. Maybe it's a society. Maybe it's a fear. But again, I'm glad I grow up where I grow up. And the fantasizing, it's a still part. But the porn, you said, guys, I want you to go on the comment section below. I'm going to put Sasha details, how you can contact her. And I want you to give her all your love, attention on Instagram, mind_heart_method. And you say, men, intimacy with how to satisfy your wife. How this related to porn?
Well, look, if you always have porn, and when you see women easily satisfied or you get satisfied just from watching that, you start to get lazy, right? Like the brain gets lazy. The brain always wants to save calories, so it never wants to do anything hard, never wants to learn anything new. It never wants to be rejected, right? So to go then to risk trying to pick up a woman or to try and understand what your wife wants and fear not being good enough for her, that's a fear, right? The brain wants to save calories. It doesn't want to do that. It wants that quick, gratification. So, I would highly recommend in this day and age that men go cold turkey on pornography.
Yes.
They reduce their intake of estrogen, right? Because it's almost the environment is working against you. And
I think you're right, absolutely. Yeah. And I do agree with you because, we can see it as, I had somebody yesterday here in the studio, and this gentleman was in adult industry, right, for many years, almost decade long. And he even said, the porn is now out of my life because, this is not me, this is not life, this is not what's happening to me. And just confirming what you're saying right now. But let me start with a different topic right now, from porn to the being husband.
Yes.
And you said in your article, how being a good husband has the same 3 principles as being a good leader. I try to sit on this, honestly, and try to Google some things. I try to find out through my books. It's like, it doesn't make my heads up. Sasha, being a good husband, 3 principles to be good leader. What does that mean, and what do you try to say with that?
Well, it's what you said at the beginning, like your dad was telling you that the man is the alpha man. Yeah. But it didn't really you didn't understand how it worked because your mum would give him one look and you could see who's the leader, right? And
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That's so true.
But the truth is the natural order is for the man to be the leader in the relationship. The man is the natural leader. Why? Because you're bigger, you're more dominant. So if you lean on your wife, you're going to crush her. It's more comfortable when she leads on you.
Yes.
However, if you want to be a good leader, you need to lead. You need to have courage. It's like a muscle you need to develop. And this is causing disruption in marriages because before men were just automatically given
Yes,
that leadership position. It's just if your dad was the CEO, you'd be automatically given a position because women couldn't make money.
Oh my God,
They had nothing. They had to. So they had to try and do everything. But it was a little bit of manipulation. You know, in Eastern European cultures,
Oh my God, yes.
Right? But now it's changing. Now women can say, you haven't
show up
treated
in
me
yours,
well. You want to strike your hand on me. You want to financially, I'm going to leave. I can get support. I can do this. Not for every woman. So the man has to now cultivate leadership skills. He can't be the dictator anymore. He can't be the tyrant because there's always a revolt. He needs to be the charismatic leader, the leader that she wants to follow, that she chooses to follow. That is how you create that sexual polarity. That's how you create loyalty. That's how you create love. And, you know, the key to being a good leader, whether it's in an organization or in your household or of your own life, is you need to care, right? It's not about you, it's about the other person. You need to make tough decisions.
Sorry to interrupt you there because you said something at the beginning which is very, very relevant. And I think it's very important for the today lifestyle we're living, right? Because pre-COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, you know, I think we're seeing the mixture of combustible, the elements. You know, people love to be with somebody, they're fighting, the divorces and everything else. But you said something at the beginning what most of men forgetting, and that it is what women want, Sasha. Okay. Why are you laughing? Just like why are you laughing?
Every podcast I get on, that's the first question.
Okay, mine is not the last. Mine is just the beginning as well.
But it's a great question.
Yeah. So what do women want? What do women want from the man in reality, Sasha?
Yeah, so the first thing that a woman wants is safety and security. So they want from a man, they want to feel safe and they want to feel protected. So strength and safety. They're attracted to a man who has this strength and safety. And it can look different in different cultures. It can look financial, it can look physical. But a woman wants a man who feels more powerful than her, right? Because that's the natural fit. That's the natural order. You know, you ask any woman, and it's very hard for a woman to express this. So whether it's he's more confident, he's more sure. And this is a biological thing. It's not a mental thing because a lot of women now don't like this idea, but it's still how they feel. And it's because a man's nervous system is more dominant and she's always tethered to him. So if there's danger and he's the alpha, he's bigger, you know, we're talking biologically, he's stronger. And if he starts to feel fear, she will sense fear because that's how she's designed to be intuitive. So her nervous system will feel fear and she'll want to go to somewhere where she feels safety because that guy doesn't feel that fear or, you know, he feels confident, he feels things under control. So these are all subconscious mechanisms.
That's interesting. You know, like I will never dare to go that part, right? But one thing many years ago, I'll just give you an example, right? And I was dating that woman and I put my hand on her bottom, right? And it was a public place. And she says, don't do this. I said, what do you mean? She said, like, man doesn't do this. It's like, well, I'm not the other man, you know what I mean? You know, I'm just going to put it because I really enjoy this, you know what I mean? Just do not. And she couldn't handle it. But then she called me that night and she told me that she never felt better in her life. I said, like, look, I'm not doing this to, you know, prove something. I just felt at that moment, you know, just want to grab it, you know what I mean? Just ooh, who's Baba? Okay, so the thing is, so what else? Safety, security.
So when I say that, it makes it sound like the man has to be not afraid of anything. No, it goes back to what you said about your mother and your father. A woman is always testing him. So in that stage, your mum knew that your father was afraid of her. And what fear is she? She was probably this small compared to him, emotional. So emotional safety. This is where we are now. A woman wants to feel that the man, A, is not afraid of her. And a man's fear for a woman comes from this emotional muscle. And a man has never been taught how to use his emotional muscle, right? So this is where we are now. And a lot of women are sort of taking this leadership role because a man is becoming more emotionally avoidant, or later in the relationship he becomes avoidant.
I will say something as a man, right? I have a few things before I forget it because so many questions coming across my mind. But I always say that woman is somebody who holds the three corners of the house, right? Not the man. Man may pretend he's an alpha male and he's a this or that, but in reality it's a woman who allows that to become the prey and be haunted. You know what I mean? Because the man can hunt you as much as he wants. And I always say this, you know, when I talk to my son, I say, like, you're going to die, man. You're going to die under the walls of that woman. You know what I mean? You're going to burn everything, but you're going to burn it with that glory. He says, Dad, you don't do this. It's like, yes, you do. You know what I mean? Like, but one thing we don't talk about is, I can say something from my point of view, but where the man can learn to behave that way, Sasha. Because my mom, she was always told me, don't be like your father. Like, you don't be like, always think about one thing. It's like, what he thinks like. And she's, you know what I mean? She slapped me. It's like, you don't need to know. But you just told me. Where the man can learn this, how they can learn those skills to be the man.
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of us...
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm glad you asked that question because I'm not here to teach a man how to be a man. I'm here to nurture and support them to step into their masculine energy and to get more in tune with their suppressed feminine energy, because we all have a balance of masculine and feminine, right? And we need a little bit of that emotional intelligence and to connect to that space of knowing, right? But a man also needs to know where he can be in his masculine, right? So for a lot of men, it's actually coming back to themselves, trusting themselves, right? If a man doesn't trust himself, how would he know what woman to go for, what to say, what urges to act on, what not to act on. So it all starts with actually being your own leader, leading yourself instead of being
your own leader,
being distracted and pulled by the outside world, right? Being afraid of the outside world, economy, things, porn, all these things that are designed to pull us out of ourselves. You know, with all these distractions, most men don't know who they are, let alone how to connect with another human being.
Let's go tap into a little bit unpleasant waters of a relationship, right? Before we talk about separations, divorces, the one question I'm professional stalker, guys. Don't do this at your home. So I was stalking Sasha Instagram. One of your posts says, and I need to circle that's how to keep your wife's love and loyalty. Okay. Now, this is before my question become about divorces. So, where the men do mistake to keep their partner, the wife, their love and loyalty for themselves, or to nurture this?
Yeah, it all comes back to a man being fully charged, right? It's those feelings you share where, you know, you're so passionate about something, you have emotions, you feel. So a woman is tethered to you like a hotspot, right?
Okay.
Because your nervous system. So when you're charged, she feels you and she is following you, right? She's attracted to you.
Okay.
When you begin to lose yourself, you know, into the routine, in the fears, in the day-to-day, when you start to mentally or emotionally sort of, you know, escape, right? You don't know who you are. You don't have a passion. You don't have this charge anymore. She loses attraction to you, right? She loses because you're no longer there. And that's sort of the issue a lot of men face, right? Because the roles and responsibilities of home life, testosterone dropping with age, but also living domestic life with, you know, a wife and children. Men were never designed. They were designed to be more around men. That's how your testosterone goes up. Yes. So you begin to lose yourself, and stress, the world, is not helping with that. So the key is always to be more of you, right? Not to be a wife pleaser, right? Because then she leads. Not to escape through, you know, affairs or workaholic or all these kind of drugs, alcohol. Come back to yourself, right? That self-trust, self-knowing and charge.
Like, I really enjoy talking to you. And, you know, more I'm talking to you, more the questions I do have. But I know we're limited with the time. when is the moment when the marriage goes down?
Yeah.
What's the signs men should be careful of? I see. When I said this one, you're like, I know that question. Like, I think that men ignoring the warning signs.
Yeah.
I'm the one. I'm talking just marriages, but relationships.
And it's not a man's fault that he does that. It's a biological reaction to stress.
Thank you.
Okay?
It's not a man's fault always. So
not a man's fault before he knows this information. After that, it's on you.
Yeah.
Because that's how you biologically reduce your stress. You switch off from fear so you can keep going. So your fears are the problems you can't solve.
Yes.
In the house, the emotional side, that right brain stuff that, you're never designed to work the right brain.
Yes.
Everything is left brain, logical. That's more natural for a man. So those problems, they're going to sweep under the carpet, avoid, drink, whatever it is. So a woman, naturally, the way she deals with stress is she's looking out for what's happening. How can she solve the problem? How can she nurture? That's biological and it's also conditioned. So she's feeling this pain. She's trying to solve the problem for many years, if not decades. And then once she finally gets to a point where she feels like there's nothing else she can do, she's tried everything, her emotional bank account is in negative, that's when she'll declare divorce. And the man will feel it happens out of nowhere. He won't understand because a man only gets into action once there's a problem to solve.
I like how you explain this. How did you say emotional bank account?
It's
empty?
Negative. It's
so negative, yeah?
A wife will usually do it when it's negative.
And the man will think this happened out
overnight.
Of the blue.
But the good news is, right, if you're listening, there's good news. Because a woman at least waits a year thinking about divorce before she declares it. If not, the signs have been going for many decades.
Yes.
Right? So if you are able to become present as a man, not run from the fear, not avoid, which is a little bit of practice. There are some tools you can use. The guys that work with me, I give them tools to kind of take off that default switch of switching off from fear and facing the fear of potential loss, divorce, things like that, to become aware of the signs. And the rest is actually quite simple.
So what do you mean, guys, in comment section, it's a link for the Sasha website, mindheartmethod.com. And for those men who are interested to enroll in a webinars or in the sessions, you can check on the website. They are there, which is going to equip you and help you to keep and positive your marriage and love life. But Sasha, I want to ask you something as a man. This is my personal experience, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Awesome. I love when people get personal because most men do not want to talk about these things, right?
Well, look,
so if you're brave enough to do it, then
absolutely.
I think that's amazing.
Think that it's best to use myself as an example because everybody love to. One thing I learned, particularly when I was a kid, I was 18 years old. War started 14th of July 1991. Night before, my father, who was the alpha male, he left me a message with my mom, we're okay. So in the morning when I wake up, I have military police on my door, grabbing me to report in army barracks. I didn't know what's happening. I saw that message. And then what I saw next thing was that guys I was hanging out, this, me, dude, I'm killer, this and that. They're the first one who hold mommy undies and run away, right? Because, and there's average Joe like me stay to fight the war. So that was, I realized very early that, we've been misled by the things around us as a man. We had the wrong people around us too. We believe we should be like them or live like them, everything else. So I use myself for example. And my life is full of ample examples of the biggest screw-ups in relationships and a marriage and everything else. But one thing continuously comes on my mind while you're talking. It's a man's emotions.
Yeah.
I want to put a nail in the coffin, right? So I start with me. The moments when I cried, and I cry quite a lot. Every time when I break up, my life was over, right? I was being told by my father when I was younger, men don't cry. Guys around me will tell me, are you a pussy? And the woman I was with till that moment, she told me, now you know I left you, you're not a man. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not a man? I'm in the middle of the war, doing all this. Oh. but my emotions were being stronger at that moment than being the man or whatever it is. Sasha, question for every man. Is it okay for men to show emotions? Is it okay for men to cry? I mean, to watch maybe Notebook or maybe 50 Shades of Grey, maybe. I like your opinion. So me personally, I did cry after my breakup, and I was being called the names, right? Thank God I'm seeing now Facebook of those girls and, the women, I'm good luck to them. But I was being made fun of. Is it okay for men to cry, show emotions or not?
Yeah, it's healthy for men to cry, right? It's a physical function.
Case closed.
There's a little bit more to it.
Okay,
so
please.
everything has its sort of where it's medicine or poison. Okay, so our physical body, it's a physical function, right?
Yes.
We need to release.
Yes.
If you hold that in, where does it go? All these emotions, they might not be tangible, but it's an energy, right, that we can see with technology. So it goes inside.
God,
Okay, and then this creates illness.
Yes.
So a man needs to release this. He can't suppress his stress, his sadness, his anger. It will fester and it will come out in a dysfunctional way, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, when you hear these comments from women, it's a woman's fear that if you're crying, if you're a man, if you're bigger, if you're stronger, and this is your state, what hope is there for me? Right? So a woman wants to feel that safety and security. So in terms of a marriage or a relationship, yes, a man can cry at these points or should cry when it's natural. But if a man's emotions are too volatile, this is very dangerous.
Yes.
Okay?
I agree with that one. I agree with that one.
So it's all on the spectrum, and really, how I work with men and how I help men is how to functionally manage and channel their emotions positively. There's a time to cry, there's a time for anger, there's a time for grief, but how can you manage them, not suppress them, and then transform them into your gold, okay, into love, into creation, into your relationship, into your business, okay? And no one really knows what to do with emotions. And this is a very new thing, so if this all sounds overwhelming, it's like brand new science, it's brand new stuff, that once a man gets this, he becomes super powerful, right?
Now let's talk about this. I'm very curious now because I want to talk about your side, how you help the man. But before you help the man needs to come to you, right? So obviously he picks up the phone and say, or whatever. Email is the easiest part, right? Can you guide us to process why the man should come to you and not to be maybe feel that being misjudged or because I'll say again from my experience, right? I mean, you telling me to come to you for the help with my marriage, doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Recently, I need to see the psychologist 3 times because 2 weeks ago I fought for the world title in boxing for the Masters, right? That's a 50 plus. I'm 51 years old. I need to do the evaluation, right? God, man. Anyway, so I went to a psychologist and she's a wonderful lady. And she has one chair here, a little table between, and another chair. Obviously, it's a couple therapy, right? And I said to her, look, I can't help you anymore. I'm going to sign you papers. I'm looking like I'm treating my psychologist. And she was laughing. She says to me, listen, Mari, we need to talk about this and that. I said, no, we have nothing to talk about. So I felt embarrassed in the first place to talk to a psychologist, which depending for me to sign the paper that I'm having normal reasons to fight in the ring at this age. But coming to you, first of all, you're smart, intelligence, you're good looking. You're going to talk about problems in marriage, intimacy, sex, porn, just name a few, right? Sasha, how do you help the man or how the man should contact you to feel more comfortable?
It's a really good question. This is a very new thing for men. It's really leading edge.
It's for the women more.
It's not every man will do it, right?
Okay.
You have to be probably at a certain level of consciousness, awareness. There has to be a lot of courage to.
Yes.
I never tell men you should do. It doesn't work that way. I can't tell a man what to do. I share a lot of content. It's a real educational process. And then we have a conversation. They might send me a DM, might be email. We have an introductory session. we need to get the left brain on board. So the man has to understand logically why he's doing this. Truth be told, most men will come to me when they're sort of at the crisis point, right? They're on the edge of divorce.
So there's different points of the in marriage.
It's never too late to save your marriage, right? But most men won't do this. Like they won't switch onto it before the pain point hits. They will avoid it, and then you'll be at that pain point. Right, I would love to work with men early. I have worked with younger men. So that's really my dream, in the future to do this with younger men. So it's preventative.
So it's
right?
so what will be
or when someone wants to get into a relationship. But the reality is most men will get into action, solve the problem, face the fear when they're on the battlefield, literally. The battlefield is the wife is saying, if something doesn't change, we're done. Or it's a drastic thing, erectile dysfunction, things like that, where it's just I rather suffer the pain of coming to you, of this vulnerability. But it does take a lot of courage, right? It takes a lot of strength.
Why is that? You think that's our ego? That's our main ego,
It's been the protection. So a man has lived in these lower energy centers.
Okay.
The next step for a man's evolution, right? We're talking in Australia, in America, in modern society.
Yes.
I'm not talking in, third
Croatia.
Right? No, but where survival needs are met.
Yeah.
The next step of human evolution, especially for a man, is the heart center. Right? For a man, the heart, men have been emotionally suppressed for years. This is not something people talk about. Women, yes, have been physically suppressed, financially, but men have been emotionally suppressed. This is why we have such high rates of suicide. This is the why we still have wars. What wars are going on today? This is like a ancient.
I agree with you.
Why do we still have that? Because men are not in their heart center, right? So if you're a man who's doing this, it's not just about you. You're changing the trajectory of your children's life, of your wife, of your community, of your organization, to go from the battlefield to, me against you, to win-lose, to connection, win-win, support, nurturing. Imagine, what really, most men don't think about this, but their relationship with their wife and the skills they learn completely changes their relationship with their daughter, how they relate to their son, who their daughter chooses, that relationship. It spreads.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yeah.
You reminded me of something. I can't translate exactly from Croatian
Say
to
it in
English.
Russian.
Yeah, I got. I remember when I was working, particularly military, right? And I was working then in military. After the war, I was being transferred to I'll call this security intelligence sector in military, right? And I remember when our boss will come, by his mood, we knew it was happened in his bed the night before, right? And everybody's like, oh, she didn't give him last night, you know what I mean? And he will bring that, that anger, that in. So
it hugely affects a man's performance at work.
Absolutely.
What goes on.
But can you imagine
especially sales, business, no courses you're going to do.
So why we don't talk about this in modern society, that our relationship with our partner, wife, or, okay, talk about my point as a man, in the bed actually going to reflect following day everything.
Makes all the difference.
But why we don't talk about this? Why we talk about, let's go learn the KPI sales. You know what? I need, guys, I know a couple of my colleagues overseas. I want to put you in touch with Sasha Fedorovsky. I want you to give her time, because this is very important. Soon it's coming movie Napoleon Bonaparte, right? And everybody talks about Napoleon Bonaparte, particularly in Western society, like, oh, he was a general and everything else. But nobody doesn't understand that woman he was with, she caused so much destruction, right? Anyway. But the women creates the wars. When, men, it's like, if you love me, you need to watch I don't want to give you prejudice on the movie, but I say you need to watch Napoleon, and there's a woman, he's in relation with married and everything else, what she was causing to him, actually. But we don't talk about these things, that marriage is going to fail and it's going to reflect the life. If the sex is not good, it's going to reflect the life. Relationship is, in essence, what's the signs men don't see, Sasha? What are you teaching men, or what are you going to say to men? What signs they need to look if the woman is going to divorce them? What are the 3 signs going to be?
Yeah.
No sex, no money, and no food. Or
Yeah, it's not going to help. But what you're going to notice when the woman is already thinking about divorce is that she becomes indifferent to you, right? The things that you used to do that made her happy, she's indifferent. The things you used to do that made her sad or upset, she becomes indifferent. So she becomes detached because that's not a natural state for a woman. It's sort of a state of self-protection, okay, when she sort of gives up, right, when she's got no more hope left. There are signs before, so a woman might get upset. She might try and talk to you, communicate with you, but really you're in the danger zone at that stage. But it's never too late, even after separation or divorce, if you're not even in the same country, because your nervous systems are linked, because we have an energy field, right? This is all science now. Yeah. Our nervous system emits a signal, just like you're watching this show on your computer. It's not when we're not in the little TV. It's an energy signal. It's the same in our body. As the man changes, as he releases unprocessed emotions, the woman feels it. He becomes safe again. He becomes charged, right? So what I'm saying is you don't need to give up on this. There's a way, right? We just haven't been taught it. We don't know about this.
How do you help the man? We start talking about this one. They should not come to the crisis point. Why was it in breaking? How do you help the man?
Yeah. So you don't have to do this training when your relationship is going downhill. It's just the stage that most men would do something that would open up this vulnerable area, right? The heart, the right brain. This area has been padded, closed, walled off for men, right? There's scientific studies that show it's because of testosterone levels. When a little boy is born, his right brain is underdeveloped, right? So a little boy is actually a lot more emotionally volatile than a little girl because her right brain is naturally more developed. It's because of hormones, right? So this little boy grows up and becomes bigger. He's told men can't cry, and he becomes big and large, and he starts to protect this right brain, which or the heart, which he can't use. This emotional center. A man actually is very sensitive, but he builds this wall or this numbness, whatever it is, to protect from that. And most women think that their man is not sensitive, but the less sensitive they seem on the outside, the more sensitive they are because they're building this wall. Right? So it's actually about starting to understand how to use it so you don't have to protect it. So it's no longer a vulnerability. What do you do with your emotions so you don't have to create all these layers, so you don't have to build all these empires, right? Because everything a man does out in the world, financially, war, all these things, as you were saying with Napoleon, it's all because of a woman. It's all because of love, sex, connection.
Look, I can relate to this one because, we've been... When I was growing up, I used to be seeing this older man will fight with the one woman. I mean, a lot of men will fight with the one woman because she was like, Now, everything seems to me like a lot of men give up on those things, like to fight with a woman, right? You know what I mean? Because it's swipe left, swipe right, and, fill the questionnaire, okay, that's it. And I'm seeing this a lot through my other work, too. Particularly my third company called Cheating Partners. We're doing a lot of investigations in infidelity. What pisses me off? I'll tell you something, okay? I can't hold this anymore, right? So, example, just imagine I'm in a relationship with some really gorgeous, beautiful, intelligent woman and sexy woman. And then suddenly you realize I'm cheating on my wife, which is blonde, gorgeous, whatever. I just... imagine whatever it is, Monica Bellucci, for example, with an ugly, despicable woman, right? And I think myself okay, what's wrong with you, dude? That you have at home Ferrari, but you turn yourself to the freaking Toyota Corolla. It doesn't make a sense for me. I don't understand why. And every time we're doing surveillance, I was like, don't even tell me how she looks like. Yeah, smart. Oh, God. She has no teeth. It's like the hair is not washed and everything else.
I think a lot of women will be happy to know that. Yeah.
But is it true, Sasha? Or they go, second thing it is, they go to a happy ending palace, Chinese particularly, for $50 with it as well. It's like, I'm saying this as a man, I can't understand. So there's no modern psychology can explain to me, why would you go from Ferrari to the 15 years old Toyota Corolla? I don't understand.
You want me to explain it too?
Sure, please. Yeah.
So usually when a man has an affair or he cheats, it's not that he needs lots of different bodies, right? Essentially a body, can feel all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of this myth, this alpha myth that a man needs to – it's not that. Who needs to go around? It's the ego, his self-identity. So the wife that's known you for 20 years, even if – you're a CEO, and we know this with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
He's a great example of this.
Oh, my God. Yeah, just about to say about him, yes.
and it's sort of, like I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've seen him in person. I love the documentary on him. He's a great sort of case study of this sort of alpha, push through, disconnect from the heart, right? But what happens with these men is they're not getting that validation. Their ego's not being stroked at home because the woman, that person who's intimate to you, no longer gets excited about your next business venture, or she sees that every day. She starts to see your faults, okay? So the validation that they get is someone who can look up to them like this. So it's the ego that needs that affair.
Yeah.
It's not the physical body, right? And so often men will cheat with a woman who's less attractive or they'll go and just get the outcome from a happy ending. So a happy ending is probably when he's not getting any sex at home. So it's just a physical function. Or it might be a much younger woman. So in terms of the younger woman and, just to help women understand, it's sort of this great fear that a man will trade you in for a younger woman. But men often like a younger woman because she looks at him in a certain way. And he can offer her things that she can't get otherwise.
I want to highlight this right now. So like I was just recently in Dubai. I have my office in Dubai, so I visit in Dubai quite often. And I went for the very first time in a place called, oh my God, I forgot the name of the pool. 360 degrees pool, St. Regis Hotel, 50th floor, 360 degrees, square pool. Anyway, I'm going to come to me name. It starts with A. Anyway, and I was there. I was only man on my own, literally on my own. It was a beautiful place. Just all this, the richest of the luxuries, it's $150 entry. Just the entry, like I'm saying, I'm going to do this, But then I noticed something very interesting what you say. Every man was older than me. I'm 50 years old man. Okay, I'm lying 51 this year. I turned in September. Every man was older than me, but the girl next to him was like a 20, 25, 30 years old, right? And I'm like, man, okay. Then I realized Aura Pulse, call it Aura Pulse, A-U-R-A, guys. There's a video there on my channel. And I was flabbergasted with this one. I said to myself, okay, either these guys all married, I cannot be all married, so they're mistresses because they're taking pictures and all these things, right? So, and then you're saying this is why they're turning to the younger women.
Well, if they have a wife, but the reason you really have to think about a man who's 60 and a woman who's 20. So a human's brain is only formed by 25, right? So most women don't even know who they are, don't come into their own, especially sexually, until 30, right? Okay. So it's sort of a longer. So that man who's this 30-year difference, let's say, it's a completely different culture, way of thinking. Even, when we look at kids in their 20s these days, it's a different way of thinking. So what's in it for the man? Yes, it's a beautiful girl, but what is he not risking there? It's emotional intimacy. There's no vulnerability there for him because it's transactional, right?
That's a word I was looking, transactional. That's what it's transaction. Now, can I ask you a question, private question, intimate question for you, right? You're helping everybody around you. How do you stay sane, Sasha? How do you stay healthy and grounded and smiling and everything else? Because you are smiling a lot, right? I don't say everything is perfect in your life. We all have the ups and downs and roller coasters, everything else. But what do you do? Now, advice for every woman. What do you do to stay you? Happy, cheerful, smiling, healthy.
I use the same tools that I give my clients.
Can you
share this?
I
want to share them
clients,
with
please.
Everyone. And obviously these are the basic tools that everyone needs, men or women. First tool is meditation, right? We are so overfilled with mental noise. Our brain is always full. Okay, and what happens, it becomes overactive, and this causes anxiety. We are so future orientated based on using our phone, right? So we need to kind of clean out that computer. We need to empty it.
That's interesting.
And simply just sitting, so we won't even use the word meditation, just sitting in silence for 5 minutes to 20 minutes a day. Just letting go. So emptying the container of stress.
Is there any particular time of the day we should do meditation or?
I recommend for most people first thing in the morning. Why?
Okay.
Because our brain waves are really low. Okay, that's where we can be in that lower brainwave state before we get into this mode. You can also do it in the late afternoon, but I recommend in the morning, especially for most men. Your expression there shows it's likely for you, and for a lot of men this is common, your nervous system is in this sort of fight or flight mode. Okay, it's very common for men who have served in military or they've done something like that, not to mention just daily stress. So you want to get your nervous system into your parasympathetic nervous system each morning. So you start your day not in this fight or flight, but you start with yourself managing the day.
So let's look, just a recap. I don't want you to discover all your tools. So same tools, which I'm seeing that you, Sasha, smiling, happy, you're cheerful, using on your clients, using on yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So how these things works with your business? The people come to you, or you put them in the dungeon, you lock them up, throw the keys, on the bottom of the ocean, or...
Yeah, most clients I work with online. Okay. I'm based in Sydney, so with some of my corporate clients, I'll go into the office. But, this is something that men, it's very personal. A lot of men don't necessarily tell anyone. They don't tell their wife.
Of course.
Most, it can be written off as a business.
Yeah.
It's all very confidential, right?
Yes.
It's still a very vulnerable area. It sounds a little bit like spicy or taboo, but really this started off as a stress management training. It's all about managing your emotions. The first month is all managing stress, reducing stress, understanding what to do with your emotions. Then the second phase is all about learning tools for emotional intelligence, communication, understanding women, conflict with integrity. I teach men how to use instant intuition, right? Most men feel this as gut instinct, but that usually happens in a state of fear, fight or flight. But I teach them this so they can understand their woman, because these are like two different species. So using your intuition, right, not your logical mind, you can start to put yourself in her shoes, understand how to communicate with her. And you can only do this once you've managed your stress. Because if I give you these tools while you're in a state of as if life is a battlefield, I do love the name, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate
you
it.
cannot have a loving, connected, intimate relationship in a battlefield. Right, so most men's day-to-day life, going to work, it has this battlefield energy, right? And there's a place and time for it, and it's very hard for them to switch off, go home, and suddenly connect to their emotions. It's almost impossible, right? So the second month is about how to actually do that. The third phase, so it's 3 months, 90 days, is all about you stepping into your leadership, your purpose, because that's going to keep you fully charged.
Yes.
That's going to keep you being the leader. Yeah. You don't lead by dictating, right? That's a manager or a dictator. You lead by having a mission, a vision, okay? And that's where your wife, your family, people around you who want to work with you in business, that's when they follow, okay? So that's what keeps you using these tools and keeps you going.
Oh, thank you, Sasha.
Right?
Let's come back to the one more thing before we wind up. Why are you doing this, Sasha? Why you want to help every man in their daily life to preserve the marriage, to preserve sexual life and everything else? What is your energy? What is your drive? What is your why to do this?
It's a great question. I can tell you I'm not really sure why I'm doing this. It's not something I set out when I was a little girl, or it's something where life has placed me here. All my experiences, probably my upbringing, I would even say it's back to past lives, right? There's certain ways that I love working with men. I love working with men who have been in military, who have been in these roles. And I find that once men start to open up their right brain, their heart, things completely shift. I guess why I love doing it, despite the struggle, despite maybe backlash or challenges, right? Because this is a very new thing, is it's just going to completely change the trajectory of our world, right? Of, a child's experience in life. It's going to completely shift things. We don't have to protest anywhere. We don't have to figure out who needs to win or lose in a war. Men who start to use these tools will create happier children, right? Children will not have to go through so much of this pain that, we've been through and all these things we had to undo. So this is a really important time for men to do this work. We're in a pretty crucial time in the world, right? If we don't start to change and shape up, then we're pretty much going to self-destruct, right? So we're talking a bit bigger picture, but yeah, I love doing this because once a man understands, once he gets this information, things change quickly. Right.
You know what? I just want to make a prophecy for you, right? I can see the book is coming out, right? Honestly, I can see that book is coming out because there's many gurus over there. How to make money, how to be happy, how to, paint the wall, rob the bank, how to do this and that. But nobody talks about essence of life, and that's the love, and that's a partnership with somebody you're living in a marriage or being the partner, and that's what everything starts and ends. And I'm very grateful for your time today, Sasha. Just to confirm, the website, it's a mindheartmethod.com. That's where the people can come and check on you, right? Okay, so guys, if you want to stalk on Sasha, mindheartmethod.com, in the comment section below. I'd like to say thank you, everybody who's supporting Sasha. Give her all your love. And those men who really need some tools to save their marriage, to have a better life, save sexual drive, please talk to Sasha. She is the expert in that field, so don't miss that opportunity. Thank you, Sasha, for being my guest today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.